Okay, so let's dive into this. If you're deep in the world of fast-growing SaaS, you know data is just absolutely essential.
Oh, completely. It fuels everything.
Everything. Product adoption, marketing ROI, predicting churn, you name it. But, the challenge is that this really critical data isn't just sitting in one neat place.
No, it's everywhere.
Exactly. It's scattered across your CRM, marketing tools, product logs, finance systems, support. It's all over.
Hmm.
And based on the sources you've brought for this deep dive, that's kind of where a tool like Fivetran comes in. It's built to pull all that, disparate data together.
Right, into your data warehouse, make
Yeah.
it usable for analysis. It promises to be easy, quick to set up those pipelines.
Yeah, the ease of use is definitely a big selling point. But here's where it gets really interesting, and it's a core thing we saw again and again in these sources.
What's that?
Well, just having Fivetran isn't actually enough. If you don't optimize it,
Yeah.
it can sort of sneakily become this source of rising costs.
And latency, too.
And latency, yeah, and just operational friction. It actually risks undermining the value it's supposed to bring, turning from helpful tool to almost a liability for teams needing data fast.
That's a really key point from the material. It's not just about fiddling with settings. The message is you need to think about how to transform Fivetran from just a passive pipe into like a strategic part of your whole data setup.
So how do you actually do that, according to these sources?
Yeah.
It seems like the first place to look is cost.
Right. Managing the costs.
Fivetran's pricing is mostly tied to monthly active rows, MAR, and that's directly hit by what data you sync and, crucially, how often you sync it.
And it's fascinating how, like, small decisions there have a big impact. The sources really hammer home practical steps. Aggressive pruning, for instance.
Pruning, so like just turning things off.
Yeah, exactly. Disabling connectors you don't use anymore, stopping syncs for specific tables, even dropping columns you don't actually need for your analysis. One source actually mentioned companies seeing like instant MAR reductions 15–20% just by auditing and cutting out that stale or unused data.
That makes total sense.
Yeah.
Why pay to move and store data nobody's looking at? You mentioned frequency, too.
Yes. Tuning sync frequencies. Does your marketing data really need an update every 5 minutes if you only analyze campaigns weekly?
Probably not for most things, right?
Right. Aligning those schedules with when the business actually needs the data freshness.
Yeah.
That hits MAR directly without losing valuable insights.
Okay, so cost is one big piece. What about performance? You mentioned latency earlier.
Yeah, performance and reliability. For a SaaS business, timely data is, well, it's everything. You need to spot that potential churn signal now.
Not tomorrow or next week.
Exactly. So optimization ensures data isn't just loaded eventually, but it's loaded reliably and fast enough, fixing syncer errors quickly, making sure the flow is smooth. That's what keeps dashboards trustworthy.
And the sources also seem to connect Fivetran optimization to the wider ELT stack, right?
Definitely. It's all connected. How Fivetran, the E and L, extract and load interacts with your warehouse, like Snowflake or BigQuery.
And your transformation tools,
Yeah.
like dbt, where you clean everything up.
Precisely. If Fivetran is dumping mountains of unnecessary data or poorly structured data, it creates bottlenecks and costs downstream too. In the warehouse, during transformation, it ripples through.
So optimizing Fivetran isn't just about Fivetran itself.
Not at all. The sources frame this whole optimization thing as more of a strategic lever, something leaders across the business should grasp.
Meaning?
Well, executives should ask about cost drivers. Sales ops, marketing ops, they should understand how their tool data flows. And data teams, they need proactive strategies, monitoring MAR, auditing pipelines, benchmarking syncs against what the business actually needs. It shows data maturity.
Right. So the takeaway from all this material is pretty clear. Fivetran's initial ease, that's just the start line.
Yeah.
The real value comes from mastering its optimization.
It's the difference between, say, a pipe that just moves water and a really finely tuned system delivering exactly the right amount at the right pressure when and where needed.
Okay, let's wrap this up then. We've covered optimizing Fivetran for cost thinking, MAR, pruning, smart syncs.
And for performance data freshness, reliability for those timely insights.
And finally, how it fits strategically with the whole ELT stack and business goals.
And the sources really stress this is strategic, not just technical. It impacts everyone from the execs down to ops and data teams needing trustworthy data for big decisions.
Makes sense.
So here's maybe a final thought for you, reflecting on what we've discussed from these sources. If optimizing Fivetran properly turns it into a strategic asset,
Right.
does neglecting that optimization effectively make it a strategic liability? How might those unoptimized pipelines, sluggish, costly, maybe unreliable, actively, harm a fast-moving SaaS company's ability to react and make those smart, data-driven calls they need to compete?